Hello and welcome to Latino Theater Company Live. Tonight's conversation is with Sal Lopez, writer and performer of This Is a Man's World, and director Jose Luis Valenzuela. We are going to be talking about everything about This Is a Man's World, but I just want to update you all. If you did not get a chance to watch it last night when it premiered at 7 o'clock, you have let me get the date correct. You have until September the 17th, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. to watch it. You can watch it anytime. You can, in fact, skip this conversation right now and go and watch it right here on youtube.com/Latino Theater Company. Our website, this is the latc.org/live. It'll be up. You can watch it anytime at any hour, all the way to September 17, 2020. La Olla ends tomorrow. We will be removing that also. La Olla also on our webpage. And The Last Angry Brown Hat, that is going to be running until September the 16th, 15th, something around that. So go and check this out. We have a lot of exciting things. Coming up this Friday, we have another online reading of She by Marlo Wyatt. And then next week, we have we have La Víctima and Sleep with the Angels. Then we have The Mother of Henry, Mexican trilogy, and Just Like Us. So many fun stuff coming up, kicking us all the way until the end of 2020. So make sure you tune in for that. And now, without further ado, let's bring in our guests. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you guys?
How are you guys doing?
Great.
Great. Good to see you guys. Thank you for joining us for a conversation about This Is a Man's World. I'm excited about it. Did both of you get a chance to see it?
I did. Yeah. Go ahead, Jose Luis.
Yeah, I did. I saw it. But I seen it.
About watching it. Yeah, was that Jose Luis? Sorry about that.
I'm saying, but I seen it. So
right.
What Sal thought when he saw himself.
Yeah, so what you think seeing yourself perform a show that you wrote,
Well, you're very critical. So
right.
The first thing I thought was, man, I should have held a little bit more on that line. I could have, let it sit a little longer.
Yeah.
Maybe, things like that. But overall it was a great experience, and it was actually cathartic as well.
Yeah, right.
But I would never have been possible without the guidance of Jose Luis. He really helped guide the piece a lot. I mean, when I first wrote it, I had like 50 something pages.
Wow.
And the first thing Jose Luis said was, okay, let's go through this. How can you say this with less words? So every monologue I had to condense it and try and make it more precise and more more efficient.
Right.
And just cut, and then we cut several scenes too. He says, well, there's too many fights in this thing. We're fighting all the time, so let's cut.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Did you cut any fights? Like, I mean, there was like 4 fights, man.
Okay, I gotta cut that. So we cut quite a bit, and down to when we had our first preview. From that night to the opening, we cut which was the next day. We cut quite a bit.
Wow. What's I want to go back, into what inspired you to write this play. When did that that idea come to you, or that you wanted to tell the story? I remember I did a video of you that we shared where you say about personal stories and how this is a personal story, right? When did that start with you, that you wanted to tell your story on stage, not as a just a performer, but also as a writer, that you wanted to tell this one man show about yourself?
It really was just taking on the challenge. I mean, our mutual friend, Pepe Serna, who's veteran actor. And he has a one-man show, and he's the one who always would ask me every time we run into each other. You go, when are you going to do your one-man show? When you should do a one-man show. You sing, you dance. Although I really don't sing and dance that much in this piece.
Yeah.
He said, you should do a one-man show, la la la. And so this opportunity came up. The Theater Alliance, it's called the Latino Alliance, and they were starting a new a writers group to promote and to help nurture Latino writers. And so I tried out for it. You had to send in a little, you had to fill out, what kind of piece you were interested in doing, why, et cetera, and all that. And I got in, and of course I was the oldest one in the group because they were all young people, But through that process, I was able to just, I thought, well, what is it that I want to talk about? What are the things that I'm kind of, passionate about? And I grew up around a lot of testosterone, a lot of masculinity. My dad's from Jalisco, he was a very man's kind of guy. And then there were 7 of us brothers. So there was a lot of, and then all of us had friends and they all hung out at our house kind of thing, So there was a lot of guys, a lot of cousins, a lot of uncles, and there was a lot of sort of manly things that were in my life. And then I had 2 kids that were boys as well. And all my brothers had boys. Wow. So I kind of, wanted to explore that, the role models and the people that I looked up to or that helped shape me and my manhood. And I wanted to explore that part of growing up. The things that we confront as guys, as men, that whole competitive spirit, all the things that you run into, being bullied. We're always, there's a hierarchy, right? As men, being teased or whatever, whether it's competitive sports or just our world that we have to maneuver through.
Yeah.
So I wanted to explore that, and then something happened to me. This thing called transient global amnesia, where you lose your memory, and I lost it for like 6 hours. So I decided to use that device to put all the stories together. And but anyway, that was sort of the impetus of the genesis of the story.
Yeah, and in that writer circle, I remember they had a festival at the end, and you got to perform it, and and then we premiered it at the LATC. What was that? What were you? So were you watching shows like you mentioned Pepe Cerna's one-man show? Were there other like solo shows or performers that you had seen that it sort of inspired you?
Actually, I did. When I realized that I was going to take it on, I did. I started to going to one-person shows. I saw Anna Devere Smith. I saw Roger Smith. A lot of other people. There was that big actor who did one at the Taper.
John Leguizamo?
John, of course, John, but there were other, but this is, I forgot his name. But anyway, just started watching a lot of them and how they, you have to command the stage. I have a lot of respect for stand-up comics because they're alone on the stage, There's no, and you have to, it's one thing to interact with another actor, but it's just you, and you have to command the stage and work out all the timing and, of course, know your lines and the transitions and everything. But, Jose Luis really guided me. Jose Luis is not keen on one-person shows.
I was about to just say that. Like,
but he didn't have any choice when I asked him. He had whatever to say no.
Jose Luis, was this your first one-man show directing a one-man show?
No, you directed Pepe.
I think so.
Oh, wow.
I directed Pepe. A lot of people ask me. I'm not into one-man shows. I find them. What am I gonna do? But Sal, that's complicated. My relationship with Sal is a very complicated relationship. So for some reason, it's we won't give the relationship until the end. Don't say anything, okay? to see if some people ask questions about Saul and Jose Luis's relationship. I thought it could be something controversial here, so people will ask questions. No, he asked me if I would do it, and I said, yeah, of course. It's, I mean, one person shows usually autobiographical. They're very personal, and I don't. When I'm directing, I'm really dramaturging. Okay,
Right.
I mean, I'm like helping. This is the action of the play. This is the way it should go. This is the transition. Let's go here and there. And when you're working with playwrights that are writing about their personal story, it's really hard for them to let go of that.
Right.
And to me that's complicated, because I know it's really hard to reveal yourself and put your heart out there and everything, and then for this guy to come and say, well, that's not really interesting, let's cut it. It's not a meaning. But with Saul, I can say that, I can do that. I say, well, let's hold on, let's do this. Maybe it was different. And and we worked together for so long, it's easier. Like, you need a song here, you need a Mexican song here, what Mexican song can we sing? We can actually talk, and things can come one by to another place. So it was interesting. It's been fascinating for me to see it too, because I thought, well, here we can actually expand, here we should this transition for me was not work, but overall I thought it came out pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought I was very moved. I cried, it was really good. I mean, I cry easily, but not all the time. But with the because it's interesting. This is a man's world. It can be so provocative in a way. What you think, and it really became an homage to his father, where I found it, and fatherhood and brotherhood and all of that. It really became an homage of things that we all go through as men, even if we want it or not. Yes, because we are in this male society, where you're supposed to behave like every other man, which means get into fights and act like you really have it, and it was great. I actually thought it's interesting, because you do a show in the theater and you open, you see all the mistakes.
Right.
You see all the things that are not working. And you're like, well, we did what we could. It's like, this is how good we can do it for this time. Interesting to see. How long has it been, so?
Gosh, what has it been, like 6 years, maybe? I don't know. It seems like
Yeah, I think it was 2015.
And see the work in 5 years ago, and then you go, wow, that actually works. This actually came out okay. This thing, it gives you distance, and also gives you the idea to analyze the work and say, hey, we were into something that it was still relevant and is still moving, which for me, it's very important, as you know.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of just going. I mean, like telling the story of like from Tijuana to South Central, and like those stories, and I mean, like there was a lot of like things that I even myself, I like, I was like, yeah, I've been through that, right? Like the dad hitting and like, being in the neighborhood, and these guys, just, it was just like, you gotta like put your dukes up, and then like meeting girls. And one of the moments that I remember liking when I saw it on stage was like, talking on the phone, like I remember like, and I'm talking and she's just like, there was so many truth, and I think that's one of the like the beautiful things is that in the performance you were able to capture that what you wrote. It was really like, it was as a first time. I think if I remember, we had the conversation. You where Evelina started writing was that competition at Plaza de la Raza. Was that you had you written before this one also, or that was the first time?
Yeah, you're referring to the first time that Evelina sort of there was this competition to write a one act, and so I said, well, I'll write one if you write one, and of course now she's become this amazing, prolific Chicano writer. And I wrote a one act about something that happened to my mom, and she went on strike because she got these chanclas, these slippers that broke on her.
I love that story.
She stood outside the store and made a strike against the guy, and it's a pretty funny story. But anyway, that was. But I really hadn't, I'd always been intimidated to tackle it again, and this one was pretty cathartic to me. Like I noticed that when I was actually performing it, when I was writing it, the story about the drowning, actually, some of my cousins who saw it, etc., they said, he did that to me too. So this guy was like a serial drowning guy, and he met a really, ironically, a horrible end, right? I mean, he ended up drowning in real life, in the beaches of Tijuana, So how ironic is that, Wow. But I realized that while I was writing it and performing it, that I hadn't let go of that I still resented that, there were still, I was still angry about it,
Yeah.
And then I was able to let it go. And so in the piece, I thought, well, I should let it go here, because that's really how I feel. And that was really therapeutic.
Yeah.
It was really therapeutic.
I mean, like, one of the things is, I mean, you've known for in the company to working with the company, right? You're having a castmate, being backstage, right? Maybe getting a 5-minute break. You're like on stage the entire time. Plus, there's shows that Jose Luis directs where you're on stage the entire time. But this one, you're talking the entire time. What was that feeling like for you, working for 30 years plus now with a company? You know each other has your back, and being like alone on stage. What was that feeling? What were you feeling in those moments?
I mean, Jose Luis, he's right. Him and I, we do gel when it comes to the work. Some things that he doesn't even have to say anything. I know what he means, and I think that we have that sort of relationship that that we work well together. We kind of know we kind of feel the same things sometimes, and we should do this or that, and then many times, I let him think that it's his idea, but it's really mine. I'm kidding, but but I trust him. The thing is that I trust him, and so I go for it. I just jump into the abyss, because that's what it is for us as actors in the theater. You just jump in, and I think in this case, I trusted what we had worked on. I trusted that the way that Jose Luis had staged it and directed it, that it was going to work, and all I had to do was do my work, and that it was going to work, Yeah. And when you get the first laugh, then okay, we're going to be all right.
Right.
And Jose Luis and I always say at the end of the play, we always say, well, we fooled them again. But
no, you say that all the time. You say that to me all the time.
But it is, I'll tell you one thing is that one of the different things it was very empowering, because you realize, wow, I'm up here by myself doing this, and it's very empowering to do that, because you are by yourself. You don't have anyone else to rely on, and it's the cues, obviously the stage manager, Henry Fernandez, who's terrific. We worked together so many times.
Yeah.
And I know he's gonna call the cues correctly, and he's watching me, and we're all working together. and it. So that's the whole idea. Obviously, you're feeling the audience, you're feeding off their energy, and it. I mean, it's difficult when you don't have an audience that's reacting, right? You know that feeling, how that goes.
Yeah.
So, but when it's right, it feels good, and one of the great satisfactions for me was just having my family see it and all of my brothers see it, and that was just so fulfilling, as an artist, and just as for them to see my work and appreciate it, and be moved by it,
Right. And to sort of, it was, this, like, I'm sure from your brothers, but also the younger generation, like your sons and their cousins, sort of like the Lopez history, right? Like the family history.
Yeah. I got a lot of texts from my nephews, that really surprised me, that they appreciate it,
Yeah, that's amazing. How long did it run? It was like a 4-week run.
We ran, I think I only did like 12 performances. So, I mean, so it really needed you need a longer run in order to get all the things that we're talking about that could have been better, the sitting on the moment more, or the flow. I think it takes a few performances for you to really get that going. And we were only doing 4 performances a week. I think we were doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was Thursdays. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, because I remember John Leguizamo, whose one-man shows I watched this PBS documentary, and he, at the time, I think he was working on this other movie, but he was in the gym, in a boxing gym, training, and I was like, oh, maybe he's working on a new movie, right? And no, he was like, look, I'm gonna be doing, I think it was for the paper, I'm gonna be doing it for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, probably twice on that Sunday day. I gotta be in the best shape ever. And he was like saying the lines, and I'm just like, whoa, I mean, you're telling like probably a 90-minute show, right?
He's a master. No question about it.
Yeah. Is there any plan or hope to do it again now that you watched it, or
I don't know. It's very interesting. I sort of when we finished the run, I was satisfied. It's like, okay, that was great.
Yeah.
I've done it. I feel good about it, and that's it. But seeing it again, I don't know. It's an interesting feeling. It's like, I'm inspired a little bit. I gotta say, I'm a little bit inspired to what else might I do? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I know that we were talking.
I thought the idea, let's do it, and we can tour it.
We can
yeah, take it out. Take it to other different cities.
Good, yeah.
But you forget that you got really sick. Remember?
Yeah. No, I haven't forgotten.
He got so sick, he was exhausted because because it is a lot of work, and he didn't count on that. He didn't count on the idea that having 4 performances a week, even if we're only 4 performances, it's a lot of work. And you got very. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think we lost.
Yeah. No, I'm here. I wanted to give you guys a spotlight.
Yeah,
I can.
It was the idea, my compadre. I think it was almost like the last weekend.
The second to the last, yeah.
And you got very sick in the dressing room, and it was kind of scary because you were exhausted. And it's really what it was. It was exhaustion, meaning it was a lot of stress, having to open the show and been working on it so hard, and then do it, and it's emotionally draining because it is a very emotionally draining play to do, even if it's only 4 days a week. So I think that also took part in the idea that, okay, this is great, and we didn't keep going with it because you discovered that it was it was very hard. It was tiring.
It was high energy. You're putting out a lot of energy, you know, to hold the audience, and you're going through all those emotions. You know,
Yeah.
it is intense. I gotta say, that is true.
How is it, you know, be like, I'm just imagining being the writer of the show and when you're performing it. I mean, like, I know, like, for example, sometimes stand-up comedians, you know, it's playing for the room, right? So they're like playing the room. Are you like, do you just keep going so that you don't mess up, or there's maybe something that someone catch on and you can edit yourself? And because I'm the playwright also. Do you find?
You definitely are playing the room. That is true. But I mean, in my case, I was playing the room and with the dialogue that I had written. Some of the dialogue was very poetic, and it was very specific. I used certain words because, well, one of the reasons was Jose Luis wanted me to be so concise. So I was very careful of how I wrote certain things to say what I wanted to say, and and not have this long monologue, but to have this say what I wanted to say. And so there was a certain way that I had phrased it, that I had written it so that it was succinct,
Right.
and but I mean, I could have veered, but I really didn't see any reason to veer from the dialogue, unless someone did a cat call or something. I probably would have,
Right.
no question. But it was a different. But it's not like you're having like a stand-up who's having people cat call or do things like that.
Yeah.
It was more structured, Plus, the stage manager, his cues are from your dialogue as well.
Right. So it's like,
you still have to hit your cues,
right.
But yeah, it was interesting.
And this play also opened up the Luis Avalos Theater, right? It premiered at the same time.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. That was the first time we did a show at the Luis Avalos Theater Luis Avalos Theater. So yeah, that was quite a privilege. He was a great talent and a wonderful man.
Nice. I think did he have a one-man show?
I don't know if he wrote one, but I saw him do one.
Yeah, I remember seeing something on PBS or something.
He was amazing. He really was.
What was I know that we talked about this at the start. You guys were mentioning like, I would have done this because you were able to see it for the first time, like online. I mean, I think it's like we're getting, for those that don't know, I think we're getting closer to like, newer cameras that we've gotten, or newer equipment in the closer productions starting now. Like, this is A Man's World, Home, Mother of Henry. A lot of our, we started filming for not only archival purposes, but also for like promotion and sort of like in bringing an audience. So that we were able to watch it. I was able to watch it on a TV screen, and watching it, and it was really cool, seeing it, like if you're watching just TV.
One of the great things is that now that we're using captions, you're able to, appreciate all the dialogue.
Right.
Which is great. I mean, there were a couple of flubs there, but we were all our staff has been working so hard to make these happen. So they're all under the gun trying to make it happen.
What would you say to someone that perhaps hasn't, doesn't know anything about this play? First, they're probably watching us right now, and they didn't get to watch it on stage. What would you say? Like, why should they come see this play, this story?
Well, I always say, not me, but it's a common knowledge, I guess, that in the theater world, that the more specific a story is, the more universal it is. And I think that that's what this, anyone can relate to this story, whether you're a man or not,
Right.
I think there's so many things in the story that we can relate to. And I find that, the Latino Theater Company, the productions that we do that are told from our perspective, are just, we're a voice that needs to be heard, that needs to be seen. And that's one of the things I'm very proud of, to be a part of that, Jose Luis's vision, to put our work on the main stage. We do equity productions. We put our plays on the main stage. It's pretty remarkable. We've been doing this for a long time, and I think it's community needs, and we as artists obviously need it, and other fellow artists to see us and to see our company, to know that it's achievable and that they can do the same thing. And the stories, so many stories that need to be told that haven't been told, and it's a great venue, and it's the theater is such an ancient form of telling a story. It's the most ancient form, really.
Right.
And we've gotten to a point where we can do it. We can do it, and we know how to do it, and we invite everyone to come and be part of it.
Yeah. Jose Luis, what this was, I mean, in comparison to the shows that our audience has been watching in like our larger spaces, I think both of them have both. La Hoya's in the Tom Bradley Theater, Solitude and Premeditation were, Theater 3. In this space, in the Luis Avalos space, I think in Melancholia we've used it in the round, but it was for those, what we were able to see is sort of there's these pillars. What were some of the, maybe, like, because I think there's some succession challenges in working in this small space, and we've been using it. A home that's coming up in the next couple of weeks was also in this space, but it has a lot of really cool. It has this. For those that don't know, where the Los Angeles Theater Center, home of the Latino Theater Company, is housed in 1900s bank. So we're sort of in the basement. A lot of the spaces have these really cool concrete and really cool look.
514 South Spring Street.
What's that? Is it
514 South Spring Street?
Yeah, 514 South Spring Street. What is it? Some of the, that sometimes it's not even just, like a curtain, but you're using the concrete, you're using the actual physical space as the design and the set, right? And then just adding some light and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I teach directing, so it's really complicated to explain that. But the idea is that every piece the spaces are different, and you have to figure out how is this piece is going to live in that different space. Now, I like the Luis Avalos for this, like one show, maybe two people shows, even though Melancholia was 16 people in it, but the space in a different way too. It's a great space to create something. Like I was talking to Saul last night, even the set for this play looks so awesome, and the Yoon did an amazing job with the projections and the curtain. It looked dynamic. It didn't look, it was kind of fantastic. But one of the things that I wanted to say also is that what I appreciated a lot, that it was unpretentious. One of the issues that I have with one-person shows, that many times they're pretentious, you know what I mean? Because the stories take this other place, and this is a real story, from the right place, that it wants to tell the story of this specific community and this specific time and place. And you're right. Every time things are more specific, they're more universal. And we all are in search of the truth as artists. And that's what sometimes we miss a lot, these fantastic writers that can arrive to the truth because, I mean, it's so much going on out there that you never find the center of the piece in order for you to, and I appreciated that about the show with Sal. I thought, a lot of the things that it worked, that it was, it was a honest work. You know what I mean? It was not lying to us. It was not trying to be, I'm a great writer, I'm going to be this other thing who I'm not. You know what I mean? This is who he is, and this is his perspective and how he wanted to tell it. And like I say, I mean, it was kind of fantastic to see this, like having sex in the car or wherever with a girl, all these things that no, and we've all done it, but it may look too pedestrian for other people to be so explicit, If somebody would want to create a poem about it. I mean, this was the great thing about that. No, this is the way the experience was. This what I experienced through that process. So I thought that's very important, because he says something, because I always say one person shows I don't like it because they're therapy. But also when we talk about this it was therapeutic for him, but also was in the context of a community. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everything that was going on in the life of the character was in the context of a larger community. It was not only a self-indulged reflection of his life.
People can identify with it.
But what was happening in the community at the time. I always appreciated that, and the other thing that I wanted to say, he said this was empowered. He was felt empowered, and I thought, it's interesting because he probably, when we did Dementia, which at the end of the play, he had to be totally nude, which was complicated and difficult for him as an actor, for the company, for everybody.
Right.
But that also was empowering for him as an actor. You know what I mean? Even because you are naked on the stage. And that's the best way to be on the stage. You know what I mean? To be naked. And literally he was naked, but I'm saying that's the idea, that you're throwing yourself in there and be totally unpretentious about who you are and what you do. And, it's like, it's important to know, for Latinos, because I think it's part of the mission of the company, is that's one of the issues. I want to do a one-person show. I can do a one-person show. I should do a one-person show.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a one-person show and be able to do it with all the, whatever happens. The idea is an empowerment to do, because I think we're talking about, John Leguizamo. He's a huge star.
Yeah, right.
To do a one-person show. You know what I mean? We're talking about the artists in the community who, when they're in a movie, they're not playing the lead role.
Right.
And to play a lead role in that movie, you have to know how to play a lead role, because and how do you learn that?
Right.
Then playing a lead role in a play or playing a lead role in a one-person show, because playing a lead role is not, you have the entire responsibility on you. Mm-hmm. Even when you have 10 actors around you, you know that you're the lead, and you know that everybody else is depending on you
Right.
because of your story. And I think that's really great. I think it's what we should do. That's what we should be doing. You know, it's meaning we're babies in doing this. Meaning, if you really think about, we started this like 1965 with Chicano Theater when we started putting ourselves on stage. Of course, they were the Mexicanos who came before, from Mexico. Like if I'm not,
Mexico.
but the idea is different. It's different. We are portraying, and people ask, why do you do all these shows have to do with Mexican Americans? But that is our life. That is our
Right.
reality. That is our community. That is the people that we have dialogue with. These experiences that have not been written, that in a way, it's so American.
Right.
South Story is so American.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Every play that we've been doing is the American story, told by,
perspective.
Yeah, by the community, as you mentioned.
And
I think
that's the important part. I'm sorry, let me finish this answer. But that, who knows about, what's going on, the blowouts, in South Central. Nobody tells that story. Nobody tells it from, I lived through that. I was there. This is what happened. And
Right.
people don't even think we were here. People all assume we got here yesterday.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I love to tell the story, but if we do tell the immigrant story, but through the lens of a Mexican American, a Chicano point of view, which I think is important to us to speak about what's going on with Latinos in the United States. I think that's really, really important. I'm sorry. I went.
No, I just wanted to chime in on what my compadre said, and that is that, that's one of the things that the company has provided for all of us in the company is to do leads.
Yeah.
Where to get that opportunity? You know what I mean? And I think all of us, at least the core members that still remain, all of us have played leads in plays.
Yeah.
That we've done. And that's pretty amazing.
And not only leads, but also roles that, I think we talked about it when we did the entire company, roles that in film and TV, maybe you're not doing, right? Like you're talking priests and lawyers and these lovers and radio, you're talking about premeditation, solitude. Everybody has a story. We're not just, they're from East LA and it's like the Cholo and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, no, there's reasons behind it, right? And I think that's one of the things also with This Is a Man's World is that for those that know you now, that seen you in the productions at the Latino Theater Company, have seen you in American Me, Born in East LA, and all the the movies that you've been in. It goes, it's like watching the show is like the Wikipedia of you, of telling the story and knowing. I remember I always try to get my friends to come see me in a play, and you and Jeff and Evelina, and it's like that's the pitch, right? It's like these people are gonna be in it, and it's like, they even coming to see This Is a Man's World, it's like, well, this is the story, right? And then connecting, like, oh my God, like my dad grew up in Florencia too, and like my area being, this is the first time I heard about him being from Tijuana. So you really get to tell, as Jose Luis was mentioning, this Mexican story, but in an American story, and which we'll be getting even further as we get into the trilogy, a Mexican trilogy, an American story, that we get to talk about the many generations of families that have been here, that have fought in every war, every single war that we've been in. So I think that's really powerful, and that, you know, it's I think right now we're living in this moment, as we were mentioning, this ancient form. We're not able to do it, but I think that right now we have this opportunity with this online, that we're able to continue and give our audience, you know, exposure to theater and these stories for free. So you're able to watch this play. I'm going to remind you all, you can watch it anytime from now until September 17th. You can watch This Is a Man's World. It's on there right there. LATC.org live, or youtube.com/Latino Theater Company. Watch it anytime. If you have a question, type it up in the comments. There is one question here. This is from Sabor Ami. Is asking, what was your favorite part of the process? And I guess I'll put it to both of you. Sal, let's start with you.
My favorite part of the process, wow, that's a good question. I think, you know, probably was because as I said, this was the genesis of this piece was through a writer group, and there were like 8 writers, and we would meet every 2 weeks, and you had to show up with pages, you know. And I think one of the things that was for me very exciting was to show up, that you had to show up with something that you were going to share.
You not only were, I mean, I've been in like a playwrights group, but you had to like, you not only had to like share your words, but you were like performing, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, oh, definitely. I mean,
you read your own piece.
You want the people to like what you wrote.
Yeah.
And so everybody would share what they had written, you know, since the last meeting or whatever. And that was really great, you know, because people would comment, and then we also had guest writers come in. In fact, Evelina Fernandez, our colleague, she came in and spoke to us, and many other, you know, writers, you know, Luis Alfaro, etc. There were others, and they would come and share their experience and give tidbits, little nuggets of wisdom, you know, and or even maybe give us an assignment.
Yeah,
which was really wonderful, and that was really special for me. I mean, obviously, like I said, I was older; they were all young writers, but it was really special to be with these other writers, you know, and be in their presence and have them bring something that they had created and then share it, you know. That was really a very special part of the process for me. And then everything else. I mean, you know, from the discoveries that happened when I started putting it together, when we did the first reading at LATC, that Jose Luis also directed, by the way. You know, that was really interesting, because then that was the first time that everyone was going to hear it. You know, and that there was an invited audience, and so that was.
I remember that people couldn't even get in. It was a playwright festival.
It was a small place, but
sold out playwrights festival.
It was really exciting, and also just you know, you're nervous, you're a lot of anticipation. How are people going to react to it? And I think. But more than anything, I think was then that process, and then obviously then rehearsal, and then you're, you know, bringing in the lights and bringing in, and then opening night, you know, and having all my family there. That was just, you know, the topping on the on the cake. You know, it was wonderful to be able to share it then with when people who lived it and knew it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know, one of my regrets is that my older brother didn't get to see it, and because a lot of the stories that I did, it's semi-autobiographical. So a lot of it is, some of it I created, and some of it I borrowed. I borrowed a lot from my brother, because some of the things that happened to him, I saw happen to him, and and I wrote them so as them happening to me. But so that's my one regret, but now, I mean, we can share it with other families.
Yeah.
That get to see it. So
Good to see it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Jose Luis, what was your favorite part of the process?
It's always, compadre, when do we, or how was that at the beginning, El Puño de Tierra? How did that came about?
You mean the not Puño de Tierra, you mean la Cruz de Madera,
Yeah.
Cruz de, Cruz de Madera, the song.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was in there already or you suggested it, or I don't remember.
I don't know if I suggested it or you brought it in during but I felt like when we got to that point,
yeah,
it shifted. It shifted from being, yes, all these experiences about shift to the idea of the father-son relationship.
Yeah.
He children and he, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think when we found that, whatever way it happened, I just don't remember.
Right.
I felt like everything.
No, I remember you saying that. I remember you saying, well, this is a story about, this is a homage to your dad. And once you found that, that's kind of what we latched on to. Mm. And I remember you that was an epiphany that you had. And then, okay, great. So then now we kind of knew the direction that we were going to go and how we were going to attack, and how we had a through line.
That's right.
And we knew that, okay, this is going to be, this is what we're going to do. But I remember that. Yeah. That was great.
I think that was the best part. When we found that, then we were home free, because then we can always.
Right.
Somehow I remember that moment thinking,
yeah, definitely.
That it was an important moment in the process, mm-hmm. for us to solidify the piece to something that was bigger. We all have relationship with our father.
Yeah.
And very similar in many ways. You know what I mean? They have to beat us up when we were little. They give us the long face when they don't like what we're doing. So all those beautiful moments bring the piece to a higher level for me, and I remember that very clearly. When we found that, I felt like, wow, this is something amazing. And it's always when you're in the process, I guess, if you're able to find that moment, then you're in the right direction. And sometimes you don't. I mean, it's not that easy. It's not easy to find that moment.
We have another question from Sabor Ami. What advice would you give someone who wants to start writing or directing?
If you want to start writing, I guess, yes, write.
Right.
That's the story. You have a story to tell, so just write the story, and you'll find people who will help you, shape it into what it is. And directing, well, you will have to take my classes at UCLA. No, that's not true. This, I think people who wants to direct needs to either latch on to a director and learn anything, if you like that director, anything that she can do or he can do. It's very complicated, because if you're a director, you have to know about art, about music, about history, about literature, read a play, 2 plays a day, from all sorts, and that will be, you'll begin to understand what directing is. It's really a long process. I mean, I've been doing it for a very long time, and I still learn every day about directing. It never ends. But writing, start writing and directing. Yeah, try to figure out, observe people that you like, and then try it on. I mean, it's really what it is. The issue is it's complicated. Directing is very complicated, but it's very important.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's part dramaturgy as well, especially with a lot of work. I mean, I've seen you. It's like in the middle of the thing. It's like, let's add this song. It's movements and stuff like that. Sal, what advice would you give someone that wants to start writing, right, or directing or performing even? Oh, you're muted. Hold on 1 second. Go ahead.
I would say everyone has a story.
Right.
So, if you keep a diary or if you keep a journal, or even if you don't, then that might be a way for you to start writing. Something that happened to you, maybe it's something that happened a long time ago, or maybe it's something that's happening to you now.
Mm-hmm.
How you feel, what is your perspective of what's going on right now in your life, and you can just start writing. And I think that's the key thing is to just, because I've learned that it's not an easy process, but if you are disciplined, you can, discipline yourself and get up in the same time every day or whatever. And if you make yourself a structure, then you will become used to it. They say it takes 30 days to get your body and mind to do anything, whether it's a diet or a workout or whatever, to change your lifestyle. And I think if you might try that, say, okay, every day at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., I'm going to write one sentence or one paragraph or one idea. And then you stick with that. And before you know it, you'll have something.
Yeah. Thank you. I think one of the great things also, as both of you mentioned, is, I think right now, more than other theater companies, I think a lot of our work is accessible now. I mean, it has always been accessible, but it's accessible online more than any other time to not just Los Angeles, but across the world and the country. And it's free, and it's on our platform, so you can watch these plays as soon as they premiere for 10 days. So if you're a teacher, a professor, a parent, or anybody that wants to know the type of work that the Latino Theater Company is producing, watch us every Tuesday or Friday or anytime after that, 10 days, and watch these conversations to learn more about writing, directing, or telling your story. And I think that's one of the things is on the mission of the Latino Theater Company is to tell these stories that rarely get to be seen on film and screen or throughout the country in different stages. I want to remind everybody that you have until September 17th to watch it on demand. Watch it anytime, 1 a.m., 6 a.m. for coffee, date night, 10 p.m., 7 p.m., some popcorn. You can pause it. You can go to the restroom, grab a drink, come back. Sal will still be there when you play. You can speed him up, fast forward. You can do whatever you want. But go ahead and watch it this Friday, on demand, starting September 11th, this Friday. We're going to be online reading of written by Marlo Wyatt, directed by Imani. We'll have a conversation tomorrow with Marlo and our development and director of new plays, Nate Ellman. We're going to be talking about our process of bringing new plays into the Latino Theater Company, just like she, and our new works reading series happening now in November of this year. I don't know how many plays. 8 new plays. So how is that process? So if you're a playwright or like Sabor a Mi, you're wanting to start writing a play, you can find that information about how you can write it. Got a shout out from Diana Ortelli, 6 a.m. coffee. Yeah, 6 a.m. For a run. You can watch it. Vecino,
¿cómo estás?
Velina giving a shout out to the chancla story of your mom. I want to thank everybody. Thank you, Jose Luis. Sal, thank you so much. Any last words for someone that they should watch it? Share right now.
Oh yeah, please check it out. And once this is all over, you can come and watch us live.
Yeah, this is all over. We'll do it all again.
We'll
Thank
go
you
all
so
over.
much. And we'll see you soon. Visit our website.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.